I was told that Jon wants 6 months to prepare if the fight is locked in. And what's 6 months from now? September? Now I'm sure money talks, but it feels like the summer.
Is Jon Jones scared to fight you?
Yes, Jon is conning the public. The fact that he didn't want to fight Ngannou for 3 years and now he's not wanting to fight me for over a year.
Is that fight fucking happening?
The UFC are saying that it's going to happen. I think it's down to him and Dana.
Dana loves Jon Jones.
He's trying to grease up his ego a little bit.
Jon Jones has now agreed to face Tom Aspinall, but not without attaching a serious caveat. For Jones, this isn't just another title defense. It's a statement, a chance to silence a fast-rising contender who's been gaining serious traction during his absence. Insiders familiar with the situation say Jones is confident this matchup will eliminate any remaining doubts about his dominance. He sees it as the perfect opportunity to put an end to the Aspinall hype once and for all. And if he succeeds, he expects Tom to acknowledge who the better man is and to stop fueling the fire with public jabs. In Jones's view, MMA is a demanding journey, one that takes years of grind, setbacks, and evolution. He doesn't believe Aspinall has earned the right to be compared to him, at least not yet. To Jones, this fight is more than a title clash. It's a chance to deliver a harsh lesson to a still developing fighter. But not everyone agrees with that perspective. In fact, there are many in the MMA world who believe this could mark the beginning of the end for Jones's legendary run, if the fight happens at all.
And the fans shouldn't even have to make a petition to strip Jon Jones of the belt. That just shows you how dumb the UFC matchmaking is, especially when it comes to Jon Jones and all the way that the UFC operates around Jon Jones. The way that Jon Jones has Dana and the organization by the nuts is crazy.
The most surprising comments came from heavyweight kickboxing legend Rico Verhoeven, widely known as one of the most dangerous strikers in the game. Having spent time training alongside Tom Aspinall, Verhoeven didn't mince words when giving his opinion on the potential matchup. Tom's going to dominate Jon Jones, Verhoeven said in a recent interview with MMA Fighting. In my eyes, Jones doesn't stand a chance against him. Mark my words. Verhoeven praised Aspinall's skill set, calling him a complete threat both standing and on the ground. He even argued that Jones has never dealt with someone this technically sharp in the striking department. And it didn't stop there. Verhoeven went so far as to say Aspinall could hold his own in professional kickboxing as well. Sure, Jon's faced solid grapplers in the past, but when it comes to striking, Tom's a different animal, he said. Honestly, he'd be competitive even against me in a kickboxing match.
There's one guy who could mimic a Jon Jones on the feet. It's Rico Verhoeven.
He's gonna wipe the floor. He's gonna wipe the floor with Jon Jones.
You believe
Jon Jones 100%. Doesn't have a chance versus Tom Aspinall. Mark my words. Tom Aspinall is a freaking monster.
I love it.
On his feet and on the ground. So, and I truly believe that Jon Jones has never faced somebody that is that good on his feet.
Support from a legendary kickboxer like Verhoeven certainly made waves across the MMA world, but the doubt surrounding Jon Jones hasn't stopped there. UFC heavyweight contender Curtis Blaydes also shared his thoughts, and he's not convinced the highly anticipated bout will ever materialize. Honestly, I think they might end up giving the fight to Ciryl Gane, Blaydes told Inside Fighting, because I just don't believe Jon will ever actually step into the cage with Tom Aspinall.
But what did you make of it when you heard Jon calling out Alex of all people?
I think he does do this because, Alex Perez now he's like big star in the UFC, everybody loves him, so he knows what he's doing, but I believe he should to fight against Aspinall, but I think he a little bit afraid of him, because Aspinall is someone who can really stop him and beat him.
Yeah,
that's what I think, that he believes if he can, fight against Pereira, he can take him down, control him.
Curtis Blaydes chose his words carefully when discussing Jon Jones, refusing to accuse the champion of fear. But he did offer a critical assessment of Jones's recent wins. Look, I'm not going to sit here and say Jon's afraid. That's not it, Blaydes said during an interview. But if he looks at things honestly, he hasn't faced a top-tier heavyweight in his prime yet. He pointed to Jones's victories over Ciryl Gane and Stipe Miocic as examples. Ciryl has clear vulnerabilities on the ground, and Stipe, he was older, hadn't fought in a long time, and even then had moments where he looked dangerous. A younger Stipe might have taken advantage in ways that version couldn't.
But it's the legacy. To be able to go to the heavyweight division, take out everyone, and then take out the Jon Jones legend, you know, and then go back to even beating a few of these new school guys, will literally put Tom Aspinall as the GOAT of the heavyweight division.
Blades didn't hold back when discussing the potential legacy impact of the fight. He emphasized that if Jon Jones does step up and defeat Tom Aspinall, it would cement his status as the greatest heavyweight of all time. If Jon beats Tom, no one can question it anymore, Blades said. That would be the moment where everyone agrees he's truly the heavyweight GOAT. At the same time, Blades acknowledged that even in defeat, Jones's legacy would remain intact. Look, we all know he's older now and not a natural heavyweight. If he lost, it wouldn't ruin his legacy. People would understand. It's part of the game.
I see quite a few people in here calling me a duck. I'm a duck. Call me a duck. Call me a chicken. Call me a goat. Call me a dog. I'm not in high school anymore, guys. A grown man out here chasing his dreams. It's funny that we really live in a world where being called a duck should affect me. Guys, come on.
While Jon Jones has remained non-committal, Tom Aspinall hasn't hidden his frustration. Speaking on the Good Guy, Bad Guy podcast with Daniel Cormier and Chael Sonnen, the interim heavyweight champ didn't mince words. Why are we still bringing up Jon Jones? The guy's basically retired, Aspinall said. I said a while ago that I'd retire him without even stepping in the cage, and that's exactly what's happening. Still, Aspinall noted that there finally seems to be some progress in the division.
What are your thoughts on Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall, and if they fought, who do you think would win?
Jon Jones. Tom Aspinall have the advantage of the really fast attacks, but if the Jon will be prepared if he will have the good preparation, he will defend every his attack from Tom.
And it's weird how the fan base switches up, because Jon's been on top, #1, 20 years, and then a new big guy comes around, Jon goes to heavyweight, and they just forget history.
That's it.
It's an exciting time for the heavyweight division again, Tom Aspinall said enthusiastically. We're finally seeing some movement, because for a while it felt like people forgot heavyweights even existed. It's been stagnant for too long. He continued, indirectly referencing Jon Jones. We've had someone holding things up, but that's old news now. I'm the one actively competing, ready to face anyone. Let's make these fights happen. Aspinall also teased fans with a big reveal, saying he already has a fight lined up. I'll give you this. I've got a date and a venue. That's all I'm saying for now.
Chael, and almost ignoring the right thing. You can then stick it to everybody like you've done on so many different occasions and tell them about it. I can tell you guys on good authority, if I was still fighting today and I was still the heavyweight champion and Tom Aspinall was the #1 contender, I would have already fought him. 1000%. Knowing how dangerous, it would have done nothing but excite me. I mean, this dude, Jon Jones, still talking. Come.
Speculation about the potential matchup lingered until Jon Jones gave fans a subtle but intriguing hint while speaking at a major seminar in Phuket, reportedly the largest of its kind ever held there. When asked about a possible fight with Tom Aspinall, Jones responded with a sly smile. I knew that question was coming. He then added, there's a lot going on behind the scenes. The UFC, Tom, and we're all in discussions, but it's up to the organization to make things official. Jones made it clear he's currently unable to reveal more, stating, legally, I'm not allowed to share any details just yet.
You had to put your money on it. What do you think is the headliner of UFC 317?
If I had to put my money on it, I think they convinced Tom Aspinall to fight Cyril Gane. I think if I had to put my money on it, I think that's the one that's being this far out. Like we're a couple weeks away, and
2 months.
Yeah, we're 2 months out, and I think that they'll throw a number. Like Tom wants to fight, and he'll be like, all right, I'll fight.
That subtle nod from Jon Jones was enough to reignite speculation. For months, many fans had been convinced that Jones was intentionally avoiding Tom Aspinall, especially with talks dragging on for nearly 20 months. Renowned coach Javier Mendez, who's worked with champions for decades, doesn't think this is just about delays or logistics. On his podcast, He suggested that Jon Jones is actually orchestrating the entire situation from behind the scenes. Jon's pulling the strings, Mendes said. He's brilliant with the media. He knows how to shift the narrative. Even Dana White seems unsure. He's like, what's going on? Jon's been doing this for years. He's no newcomer, and he knows exactly how to control the conversation. Mendes's view, it's not just about schedules, it's mental strategy, and Jones is playing it like a pro.
Do you see the petition online from the fans?
Yeah.
What did you just make of that?
Every human on earth was DMing it to me, and yeah, I saw it.
I mean, I know you say you always listen to the fans and give the fans what they want. I'm just curious what you make of that.
How many fans are there worldwide now? Like, what's the number? It's like 400 million or something like that. Yeah, 130,000 people want to see him stripped.
Sure.
Yeah.
Not enough.
No, I'm not saying that. It's kind of fucking silly.
That said, Mendes isn't necessarily counting Tom Aspinall out. When asked for a prediction if the fight takes place, he didn't hesitate. If Jon takes the fight, I'd give him the edge, Mendes explained. Historically, when Jones agrees to a bout, it usually means he's confident he can win. He's incredibly skilled and strategic. However, Mendes made it clear that this isn't a guaranteed outcome. Tom is a monster right now, he added. He's evolving fast and he's dangerous. I'd lean slightly toward Jon, but this one's close.
It's your job to pay attention to these things. But conveniently, Dana White has been busy. Now, we all know that Dana White knows what's been going on with Jon Jones. This is just his way of, avoiding any sort of, responsibility for it, or, I haven't really been paying attention to any of that stuff, because if I was paying attention, then I'd have some real answers for you guys, and I'd really be helping.
Among fans, the bigger debate now isn't just about whether Jon Jones signed the contract. It's whether he genuinely believes he can beat Tom Aspinall. While accepting the fight appears to be progress, many are skeptical. The constant delays, vague social media posts, talk of potential retirement, and strategic silence all fuel speculation. Is Jones hesitating because he sees a real threat in Aspinall's speed, precision, and versatility? Or is this just a calculated move, buying time to maximize his earnings and control how his story ends on his own terms?
This is the greatest promo I've ever heard. He just announced his nemesis's retirement. And to add to it, Daniel, he wished him well. Now, that's not something you would do of an enemy. That's something you would do of a former foe. So perhaps we are in the presence of the undisputed champion. I mean, he said he was, after all. And let me tell you something that Tom is. Not only is he a champion, he's the active champ.
Following his TKO victory over Vinicius Moreira at UAE Warriors 60, Tanner Boser didn't shy away from discussing the state of the UFC's heavyweight division. Speaking with MMA Canada, Boser offered his thoughts on the swirling drama involving Jon Jones, Tom Aspinall, and the overall uncertainty at the top of the weight class. He acknowledged the ongoing hype surrounding a potential super fight between Jon Jones and Francis Ngannou, something fans have fantasized about for years. According to Boser, that matchup remains one of the most compelling what-ifs in MMA history.
People are starting acting surprised. Oh, John's a duck, this, that, and the other. Jon Jones ducked Francis Ngannou for 3 years. Don't be surprised that this guy always takes fights where he's at the advantage.
The appeal of a Jones versus Ngannou showdown lies in the spectacle. Two titans with unmatched power and legacy. It's a blockbuster. Fight fans would do almost anything to witness. But when it comes to Tom Aspinall, the excitement comes from a different place. It's less about marketing hype and more about settling the score. Fans aren't chasing a fantasy matchup. They want clarity, legitimacy, and a rightful champion in the heavyweight division. And right now, that hunger for resolution is stronger than ever.
Well, I want to be undisputed champ because I feel like I deserve a shot at it. That being said, I'm also a professional fighter and I'm not fighting at the moment. That isn't really my fault though. That's more to do with the UFC. They really, really want to make the fight with me and Jon Jones. For me, I'm not.
From a fan's point of view, the path forward seems obvious. Dana White, the man with the final say, has already hinted at the UFC's next move. The organization appears to be aligning behind one clear matchup, Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall. While the name Francis Ngannou might trigger memories of what could have been, he's no longer on the UFC roster. Aspinall is, And in a promotion that thrives on active champions and undisputed titles, Jones really has only one viable option if he wants to remain relevant in today's heavyweight picture. Face Tom Aspinall.
I was told that Jon wants 6 months to prepare if the fight is locked in. And what's 6 months from now? September? Now I'm sure, money talks, but it feels like the summer, if that is the goal, it's starting to slip away a little bit.
So Jon Jones needs 6 months to train after the fight is signed and official in order to fight Tom Aspinall, meaning that the fight, even if it was signed right now.
That message was driven home even harder by Jon Jones's longtime rival, Daniel Cormier. After Jones took to social media to dismiss both Cormier and Chael Sonnen as bitter and outdated voices, Cormier didn't bite on the personal jabs. Instead, he made his point with precision. He wasn't chasing drama. He was talking about what it means to be a true champion. According to Cormier, holding the UFC heavyweight title comes with a responsibility. When a legitimate, dangerous contender like Tom Aspinall steps up, the champion doesn't dodge or distract. He shows up, signs the contract, and defends the belt. Cormier made it clear, if he were in Jones's shoes, that fight would have already happened.
I have never seen a fight that we wanted that we've then been denied. No different than the girl at school that you're chasing and she's telling you no. Lose steam. This fight is a small...
Cormier's comments struck a chord, not just because of what he said, but because of the truth behind it. Right now, Jon Jones doesn't resemble a dominant champion eager to unify the division. Instead, he seems like someone trying to delay the unavoidable. Tom Aspinall, currently in his prime and combining speed, power, and calm under pressure, presents the kind of challenge most would rather avoid. And while Jones's resume is historic, this latest chapter feels less like a fresh pursuit and more like a door quietly closing on an era.
You're on his mind there, Tommy. You see that? You're on his mind.
He looks a bit uncomfortable there. He looks a bit awkward.
You know what? He's right. You are an asshole, Tom. You are an asshole for that response.
I'm just being... I mean, everyone's an asshole sometimes, especially me, so I don't take offense to it. But
stirring even more buzz around the debate was Stuart Austin, the man who handed Tom Aspinall one of the few official losses on his record. Years ago, Austin caught Aspinall in a heel hook and secured a win, but he now believes the version of Tom competing today is on a completely different level. As clips of that old fight resurfaced across social media, Austin weighed in with a striking opinion. If Tom were to face Jon Jones now, he wouldn't just win, he'd knock him out.
Do you think the Aspinall-Jones fight happens?
It's got to happen. I was sitting next to Tom the other week at the UFC in London and talking to him about it.
How do you think that plays out if they fight?
I'll be honest, Tom's a friend. I love Tom. He's one of the coolest dudes in the whole of MMA. Even though Jones is getting old, I just can't pick against Jon Jones. The one thing I do think Jon Jones has got the best in the world and the best ever is his fight IQ. He has a perfect game plan to beat that person. As much as I love Tom and I want Tom to win, I couldn't pick against Jon Jones. It's just something I couldn't do.
Austin's remarks didn't come off as boastful. They carried the weight of first-hand experience and honest observation. While he praised Jon Jones for his exceptional fight IQ and presence in the cage, even likening him to a different species, Austin still ranked Tom Aspinall and Francis Ngannou above him in today's heavyweight landscape, at least in terms of raw impact. For someone who once handed Aspinall a loss to now claim that Tom could knock out arguably the greatest light heavyweight ever, that's not hype, that's informed belief. When critics dismissed the idea that Aspinall could finish Jones quicker than Austin had, he pushed back with a simple question. Why do you think that? He doubled down, pointing out that he's studied Jones's recent performances closely and believes there are subtle but exploitable flaws that aren't being discussed openly.
The Jon Jones that you saw will not be the Jon Jones that fights Tom Aspinall. Teddy Atlas. I had this conversation with Teddy, and I said, Coach, he's not missing. He's spinning around backwards where he can't even see the opponent. I don't think he missed a shot against Stipe. When I spoke to Tom said he was watching slow motion. He said, I got all the respect for Stipe, but he was simply too slow, and Jon was too slow. Not one of those spins, not one of those things would have I ever been.
Austin expressed quiet confidence that Aspinall's team, respected for both their discipline and tactical approach, has already pinpointed the same weaknesses he saw in Jones's recent performances. There was no exaggeration, no dramatic flair, just a measured statement. Jon Jones may not be prepared for the level of challenge heading his way. But beyond the talk from fighters, analysts, and even former rivals, it's the constant delays that are causing the most harm. With no official date, no signed contract, and no real clarity from the UFC, the narrative has started to drift. Now, even outspoken figures like Colby Covington are stepping into the conversation.
He's old and you're just showing up for a paycheck. You know, that's not the Stipe of old, you know, of that was in his prime anymore. So, you know, I don't think anything special that performance. I think Jon needs to stop ducking Tom Aspinall, just like he ducked Nagano. You know, he ducked Nagano for years. Now he's ducking Aspinall. So he doesn't want to fight the guys he knows he's getting his ass whooped against. So I don't think anything special to Jon.
Colby Covington didn't hold back during his chat with Tim Welch, making a bold claim. He doesn't believe the Jon Jones vs. Tom Aspinall fight will ever take place. In Covington's view, Jones will likely sidestep the challenge and walk away from the sport instead. He cited Aspinall's recent comments to the media, where the interim champ expressed fatigue with the situation and admitted the bout felt no closer to becoming reality, as a sign of deeper resignation. According to Covington, that level of frustration doesn't just stem from waiting too long. It sounds like someone who's starting to accept the fight might never happen, even if he's doing his best to stay composed in public.
And of course, it's been pretty interesting, all the stuff that Jon Jones has been saying to the media this week, and I'm sure there's more to come, but check out these.
You're beating guys who aren't even champions, and you consider yourself a champion. He's not a champion.
So Jon said I need to fight more champions, but this is the problem I've got. Jon is the champion, and he won't fight me. And he says that he won't fight me because it's too much of a gamble.
Covington went even further, claiming that Jon Jones is demanding an outrageous payday, somewhere between $40 and $50 million, to face Tom Aspinall. To Covington, that isn't just a negotiation ploy, it's a veiled refusal. He argued that Jones no longer commands that kind of financial draw, and suggested that the inflated price tag is simply a way to avoid the fight without explicitly saying so. What's striking is how many voices, fighters, analysts, and insiders are all echoing the same sentiment. This matchup should have already been booked, but it hasn't, and that raises questions. Whether Jones is holding out for a massive payday or quietly weighing the risks, the constant delays are fueling speculation and undermining confidence in the bout ever happening.
Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall has all the makings to be the biggest heavyweight fight in UFC history, and I think that's the fight that they're going to make next. Jon kind of alluded to it. He didn't say Tom's name specifically in the post-fight speech, but he goes, look, there's some things that you guys want. I need to sit down with Hunter and Dana. We need to work some things out, and then we're going to give you that fight. And
Today's version of Tom Aspinall is a completely different challenge. Mobile, explosive, and composed under pressure. He's not the same type of opponent Jon Jones encountered in Cyril Gane, nor is he similar to the version of Stipe Miocic Jones was, preparing for. Aspinall fights like a man with nothing to lose and everything to prove. Aside from a single fluke injury loss that came just seconds into a bout, he's made quick work of every fighter put in front of him, dominating them as if they didn't belong in the same octagon. Meanwhile, Jon Jones is approaching 38, returning from a long absence, and still facing questions about his size, sharpness, and whether he can absorb damage from true heavyweights. No matter how much experience he brings, time is undefeated, especially in a division where one clean punch can change everything. And as the speculation swirls, it's not the statements or social media posts that speak loudest, it's the quiet. The longer we go without real movement, the more likely it seems that retirement may be the path Jones ultimately chooses.
Huge news revealed between Jon Jones and Tom Aspinall. Dana White has come out and said that Jon Jones accepted the fight against Tom Aspinall, but has since gone back on that. And now they are back to square one. He's now less sure that the fight's going to happen. Incredible news that Jon actually accepted this fight, got an offer that he was willing.
And if that moment never comes, the UFC won't just miss out on a blockbuster main event. It could leave the entire heavyweight picture in limbo. What does the championship even mean in 2025 if Jon Jones exits without ever locking horns with Tom Aspinall? It would be a legacy with a glaring gap, a fight that fans didn't just dream about, they demanded. One that could have defined an era, but instead became the biggest what if in heavyweight history. What do you think about where things stand? Drop your thoughts in the comments and hit that subscribe button for more breaking updates and fight insights.